What's up, guys? It's your boy Zowoki back at it with another Chris Watts case. The rabbit hole continues. Now, a lot of you have been wanting to know where the flip is she at and why is she still hiding if she is completely innocent? I think the same thing too. Now, there's the discrepancy of over the course of how many different things that we've talked about, that when we look into it, that she went in hiding because she was pregnant. She went into hiding because she wanted to better her name. So she didn't want her name tainted. And the only thing that she cared about, yeah, she did care about Chris for the time being, but the only reason why she came forward is because she wanted to clear her name and not make it bad. She did try to make off with possibly writing a book, like others that were before her as mistresses, but that didn't look into it. Now, there's discrepancies also up in the air if she's in the witness protection program, but why would you protect somebody that apparently could be involved in the murder? Is she a witness protection program by the government? Is she in a witness protection program through the Freemasons? Who knows? But we're going to be taking a look at some more information when it comes to Nichol Kessinger. Why is she hiding? Where is she at? Why is she still incognito? And then also, apparently people have stated they found her, but she looks older than she does. And I look into it using a time traveling filter to see if it is a match. And boy, oh boy, it's pretty close. But before we go any further, if you guys could do me a solid favor, is subscribe to the YouTube channel by hitting that wiper icon down at the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it so I do post videos like this one. We'll get that little ring notification that Zowoki myself has posted that video. And you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, thank you guys so very much for the continued love and support you guys are showing on this channel. We're about to hit 30,000 subscribers strong. I can't thank you guys enough. I have never even a million years thought I would get to 1,000. You guys are making my dreams come true. We're trying to get to 50K so I can make one of your guys' dreams come true by giving you guys a MetaQuest virtual reality headset for free. You can watch movies on it, play games, and more. And I'm giving one to you guys for free at 50K. Now at 100K, I'm going to be doing 2 more. So 3 of these are going to be going to my lucky fan subscribers. All you have to do is subscribe, comment, like, and share on the video of the giveaway stating win or hashtag win a MetaQuest or win MetaQuest 3, and you're entered, and it's all you gotta do. It's super easy. Share with your friends, get more people in here, and we'll keep growing together. That being said, let's get into the nitty gritty of this now. So I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of stuff lately over the course of the few days. We've been looking more in the paranormal aspect, stating to see if Shanann had possibly spilled the beans on Nichol and stated, yeah, she was there. She was there the whole time. Check out the link in the description. There's more of that video we're going to take a look at, part 2. But what is Nichol's new name? We still don't know. Apparently, she had changed a few letters around. She's not Kessinger anymore. I can't legally go into what her possible name is due to identity. You know, I am not wanting to get myself in trouble. I want the police investigators to deal with that on their basis. Hopefully, through all the hundreds and thousands of YouTubers, including myself, that are putting these videos out here, hopefully one day we will find out that, yeah, they're going to open it up and they're going to take a look at this case in depth on Nichol Kessinger. I'm just saying, strength in numbers. The more people we have, the more maybe, fingers crossed, we'll get to take a look at it. But it reads, Nichol Kessinger's new name is not known specifically. Reportedly, Nichol Kessinger has faced immense challenges, I wonder why, in attempting to lead a normal life following her involvement with Chris in this case. That's why you don't sleep around with married men. You find somebody else that's single. Just saying. The intense media scrutinized and publicly shamed Nichol Kessinger surrounding the tragic events that had taken place and took a toll on her well-being as well. Because she was so bad or so upset that they lost their lives because of her doing. As a result, it has been suggested that she may have considered legally changing her name, yet the first name she had kept but changed in wording. In the efforts to regain a sense of anonymity, distance from the highly publicized incident. People have also stated that she has gone under plastic surgery. I don't think that's the case. why would you go that extent? I mean, if you really want to live a normal life, I mean, she did state too that she had a safe house, aka possibly with Jim. We're going to be taking a look at Jim here very soon, but people wanted to look at other aspects before we even get into talking about Jim. We're also going to be watching a video from a YouTube channel that people have been wanting me to watch. It is from Brain and Beyond. So stick around for the end of that because you want to take a look at some information that that lady has, and it's pretty good. So living under the weight of such issues can be profoundly impacting on an individual's mental and emotional state. She did it herself. She didn't do this by accident. She knew everything she was getting into. She knew up front that Shanann and Chris were married. She knew that he had kids. She wanted to sit there and lie to the police officer stating she didn't know any of this. I digress. And the delusional of potential change that she would have in her name will reflect and desire for a fresh start and a chance to move beyond the shadows casted by the case. Casted by herself. She just pushed. She's pretty much that person that's she's on the side of the cliff with Chris, and she says, are you going to dump her for me? No? She's like, you either do this or I'm not going to push you off the cliff. Just saying. The choices highlight the profound effects that a highly profiled and deeply tragic event can have on a certain person's lives, connecting to a murder case. While this information has been reported, it's also important to respect Nichole's privacy, which the only reason I do is because I don't want anybody harmed at all. I just want justice. So there's no need for harming Nichol. We want justice where she is investigated, taken into custody, interviewed properly, and then let the justice system deal with her. Not for us to take amends. That is not for us to do, okay? That's why we're leaving it more of a privacy, more of an investigation of her whereabouts so that, hey, police officers, take a look. Go to her house. That's up to you. But we don't know where she lives. Okay. It's a safe house. And allow her space to navigate her new life in a way that supports her well-being and healing. Healing for what? She had made this man so obsessed with her, including herself. Apparently she was so sexually driven with him because he was the best that she ever had, that she's making it sound like she's the victim. She's the one that needs to be taken care of and put in the well protectors program. Let me just let that sink in, because there are people that are literally stating to me in my comments here and there that I need to leave it alone. Nichol is innocent and there's no evidence, but yet they haven't told me why. So if you guys believe that Nichol is innocent, I definitely challenge you in the comments. Keep it positive though. Don't be very nasty or negative. To tell me why you think she's innocent. Why you don't think she needs to be doing time. Why you think she should be living a life of luxury when Shanann, Bella, Cece, and baby Nico are not living, but in the ground because their father, husband, decided to take their lives because of a female that he wanted to start anew. Let that sink in, just saying. Now, looking more into it, obviously, again, we don't know exactly her name, her whereabouts. There has been sightings of her still in Colorado in the Fredericks, Colorado area. Really? I would say that she would needed to get out of the country in order for this to happen. There has been sightings apparently of her in a different country. But again, we digress. We can't put our finger on it. But again, the big question is, why is she hiding if she is innocent? If you're innocent, you should have nothing to worry about. She did one interview, which the interview apparently went under wraps, but I found it. We're going to look into it with Dr. Phil. The Dr. Phil case where it pretty much was deleted, whatever have you. We're going to take a look at that very soon. So that's why you need to subscribe and keep on notifications. But again, before we get into the video from brain and beyond. This female definitely speaks very highly. I definitely like the way that she sounds. And I watched the first intro of her video, but we're going to watch more, the 5 strange things about Nichol Kessinger and where the heck she is, or why she is not innocent. So, but before we go any further, what I'd like to do is I want to show you these 2 pictures, okay? Now, we have on the far right, we have Nichol Kessinger that we definitely know is she is her on the far right. Now, somebody had sent me this picture on the far left, okay? Which images that are on Google are not subject to copyright reasons and are fair game, so for educational purposes, okay? This is not to be mean or negative to in any way, but apparently the one on the left is apparently people stating that this is her just gone under a lot of stress, a lot of issues, and a lot of aging over the course of the past 5 to 6 years since this had taken place. Now, I took it upon myself to put Nichol Kessinger on the right side into a time traveling. Now, is this something that can be used as evidence or used in investigation purposes? No, but it definitely leaves me to believe that this could be her. So, looking at this video of this time travel filter on the far right, and you bring it over to the far left, it definitely looks like her. So, is this possibly her? I have no idea. But for those that are in the police justice system, please, for the love of baby Jesus and as all is holy, we need to talk to Nichol. We need to talk to Nichol Kessinger. We need to know and find out. I mean, the thousands of YouTube videos that I've watched that say the same thing that I am saying, if not more. I mean, I've only put out 25 videos of Nichol and Chris Watts. Some of these channels have thousands of videos of dissecting, and we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg. Yes, we're finding things here and there that are the same repetitive thing, but if you start to, I've been keeping a track, like a web of things, and I'm bringing it to you very soon, a web of things that I'm sorry, I have bronchitis, so I have a bad cough, but I have webs of going in all these different locations, and just, it makes you think and scratch your head once you look at this web that I've been creating. It's very, like, why did they drop the ball on this? Why did they? Well, because Chris decided to say, hey, yeah, I committed the murders. That's where they stopped. If Chris had never said, yep, it was all me, they would have continued into Nichol. But because he was protecting Nichol at the time, he was like, yep, it's me. So the district attorney was like, yep, we're done. Signed, sealed, delivered, case is closed. If things were a little bit different, where they had not told Chris that they actually told Chris they were looking into Nichol. And that's when Chris dropped the ball. I did it all. But then later on, in a different FBI interview and police interview where they had gone there for investigation purposes, obviously into certain aspects of what had happened, they did state too they wanted to get some more information about Nichol, but that's not why specifically they went there as well. Now, we're going to take a look at this brain and beyond. Please give her some love. Watch her old stuff, watch her new stuff, subscribe, comment, like, and share. I'm definitely, again, not taking credit for any video. I have to put that in there because apparently people think I'm taking credit for their videos. I am not. I'm using it as evidence to support my evidence and my findings and my opinions, my theories, and see if they match, including yours at home. So, go give her some love. And with that being said, let's get video.
Number 1, is Nichol lying?
Yes.
2, was Nichol directly involved in the murders?
Yes.
3, did she manipulate Chris in some way into killing his family? And 4, is she, or more accurately, was she at the time of the murders mentally unwell, mentally unstable?
This woman had problems starting at childhood. She had stabbed a man. She slept with a lot of married men. She's had, I mean, we've showed the evidence before. This woman has been having mental instability for a lot of time. Okay.
So Nichol, born in 1988 sometime, I think it's really hard to find her exact date of birth. She's now, I know, 32 or 33, around that age. She
35.
studied, she became a geologist and was working at the Anadarko Petroleum Corporation when she met Chris, who was then an operator at the same company. Nichol gives a timeline of her encounter with Chris.
Which, for those that don't know as well, and I know there's people out there that tell me don't stop, but there's also people out there that don't want me to stop because they don't want me talking during these people's talking. So, also finding out later on that Nichol Kessinger's father works at Anadarko as the safety specialist. Yeah.
Chris in her first police audio interview, and I'll link that interview below also. But I'm going to recap the main points that Nichol tells police in this interview. She met him May or June 2018.
Which was actually May of 2017 because she Googled and also met him at the gym. But there's a lot of evidence on that. Watch some of my recent videos on the timeline. Would you give up your life for a woman you just met for 4 months? Or would you have done it over the course of a year? Just throwing that out there.
But not really spoke to him much at first. She noticed he never wore a wedding ring, which really is not that uncommon for people.
He said it's because he lost weight and it doesn't fit. So get a necklace and put it around here. Okay? I have my love band that I have with my fiance right here. I put it on, and when it hurts my finger, I put it right next to me so I know where it's at all times. And I'm not even married to her. Just throwing that out there.
People in those kind of jobs for safety reasons. She says it wasn't until the start of July or the end of June they first met outside of work.
Lied.
And Nichol says they just talked on that first encounter for a few hours. She says Chris...
They made it look like she did.
Not long after, told her that he was married and had 2 kids, but he was in the process of a divorce. And Nichol says she never really knew about the 3rd baby, little Nico, that was on the way until she heard about it after the murders in the press.
She saw it at the house when she was there because they had sonogram. Is it sonogram? The sonogram pictures of the baby on Shannon's desk. Okay? That's when she got pissed off. She went to the car and pouted because she just found out that Shannon was pregnant with a boy, and that Nichol stated she wanted to give Chris his first boy. Also, there's discrepancies up in the air that with her possibly being dealt with in witchcraft, that a firstborn son is used in satanic worships for a demon to house inside. I'm not going to get into that, but that's another theory that people are stating. But
Nichol often says she can't remember the details when she's talking in the interview. She says it was so long ago, but mind you, the events she was trying to recall were within a 6 or 7 week period at most. She does admit that they had several discussions about Shannon, Chris's wife, and the children. She says that Chris was never hostile or aggressive towards her, and she absolutely saw no red flags to indicate that he could do something as violently as he inevitably did. She described Chris as a mild introvert, and she said that Chris could be himself around her and that he would talk about things that would...
Because when you're in a new relationship, you don't want to show everything because you don't want to scare the person away. So, of course, he's going to be more subtle, shy, not up in your face kind of thing. So of course he's going to be himself around her because he wants her to like him.
Excite him. I don't know what those things were, but she says he could just be himself. And the words Nichol used in that interview were chilled. She said that her and Chris never really had any arguments. He never lost his temper, and that they were both very open-minded about things.
Yeah, because they're too busy having sex every 5 seconds because they were just all about physical touch. They weren't into a family, a marriage. I mean, when you're first into your relationships, do you really argue a lot? I mean, I did with my ex-wife. That was probably my red flag right there. But she's making it all about her again. I didn't see anything wrong. I didn't see anything bad about Chris. Yeah, because you were the other woman. You were the one that he wanted to be with. Not Shanann, where she was trying to fight for her marriage, fight for her husband, and yet you're the one that ripped it apart.
Again, I'm not sure what that means. She also says they have lots in common, including fitness, healthy lifestyles, cars, and Chris was willing to learn new stuff. But there's
Guessing that was more in the bedroom.
brief and fast-paced love affair would soon be cut short when Chris Watts killed his family, his wife, his 2 daughters, and his unborn child in the early hours of August the
And then speaking of the innocence of Chris, we just watched a couple of videos the other day, or letters of people that love Chris, are fans of Chris. But look at these ladies, Celeste, Bella, and Shanann. How beautiful these women are. And they were taken because of his stupidity and his anger and his destruction. Took these 3 lives, including baby Nico that we never will ever get to see, took those lives. But yet he's innocent. They're on his side. Team Chris. Gag.
13th, 2018. From the time he met Nichol, Chris seemed to change very rapidly during that 6 to 7 week period, becoming cold, distant, and unfamiliar and even scary to Shanann. And because of this overlap of meeting Nichol and Chris's change of behaviour, some people think Nichol had more to do with the murders than we perhaps know. Given that Chris pleaded guilty, allowing for a very swift conviction, trial and sentencing, and given Chris himself has said he would take some of the details of the case to his grave, some allege that Nichol got away with a bit more than we know. She got away without a thorough investigation.
Amen.
And some people wonder what might have happened had the police had looked further into the case, or had Chris had pleaded not guilty, in which case a trial and much more thorough investigation would have.
That's the problem. It never went to trial. He didn't plead not guilty. He pleaded guilty. How much of a difference do you think it would have meant? That's what I'm saying. It needs to be reevaluated, re-looked, reinvestigated. And people are like, just let it go. No! I want to see this girl, like, investigated properly, looked at. I just don't get it why people are so, just let it go. If this was you, would you want justice for your family or for your spouse? I just
have ensued. There are countless rumours, accusations, speculations, and theories on the internet, and some pretty wild and wacky ideas being thrown around out there too. Many people have tried to find Nichol, including private detectives, and even Dr. Phil attempted to locate her for an interview, but she's gone. Simply seems to have vanished into thin air, but more about that later. So after the first police interview, mind you, Nichol presented herself to the Frederick Police Department to inform them of her relationship with Chris. So that's a key factor here too. But she was quick to go to the cops and tell them what she knew. But in the second police interview, which we will look at a little bit here, she seems to be much more apprehensive and defensive at times, and has admittedly deleted evidence in the way of text messages and Facebook posts and conversations to friends. And
which, I mind you, that is a felony in itself, up to 10 years in prison.
Naturally, that kind of behaviour invoked some suspicion from the police. However, Nichol tells the officer she is super excited to help, and in the clip I'm about to show you, she's having trouble syncing her phones. She's trying to move information from one phone to another phone so she can surrender the first phone to the police to inspect. You will hear the officer ask Nichol if she has any objections to the police accessing all the content on her phone.
She freaks out.
The phone she's already attempted to delete data from. You'll hear her voice go up high in pitch and fluctuations in her tone, and she asks, "Why do you even need that?" Police explain why, and she's reminded of GPS location trackers within the phone. Anyway, listen out for some verbal cues from Nichol and watch her body language carefully here, because some have argued she's starting to freak out because she must have something to hide.
If you have nothing to hide and you're innocent, why would you ask them that question? Why would you start panicking and freaking out? If you're innocent, what you have to hide?
This point. Take a look and then we'll come back and chat through it.
Sure, I get it. So he's going to come over and turn your Wi-Fi on and figure out how to move. He knows about this.
Do that. I give up.
And the funny thing is she put her normal phone underneath the new one. You do that. For people that put their phones like this down, they're either hiding something, don't want it to be seen, or they're protecting it from being broken. What is going to break her phone in this instance? So she's covering it up so he can't see if anything pops up. That's just my opinion. Could be yours. Let me know.
Okay. So your phone this time, do you have any objections to us looking at everything in your phone?
Why do you guys need that? I'm just curious. Like, why do you need everything as opposed to stuff?
Well, because it's easier to get it. And if we're looking at all the material, let's say I take everything off your phone, I can put a date in, like let's say August 10th through the 15th, because those are critical days. But other conversations between you and Chris, or other text messages between you and Chris from June or July, then it makes it harder for me to find all those. Do you understand what I mean? It's easier for them to just take everything. I don't know. Are they?
Yeah. I mean, except for when I first met him and it was his big PC thing.
Okay.
I mean, you guys can have all that. I just was like, oh my God, I have so many texts on here between me and all my friends. I'm like, do they really want all this stuff?
Well, is there anything in those texts that you'd be concerned with?
Not really.
So,
then why ask that?
Not really, or yes or no?
No, I mean, like, the other day, my dad and I just had to do some damage control because a lot of people were like, hey, please call me, I don't know what to say. And I just told them all, like, I didn't say anything. I pretty much just said, if mediators contact you, tell them no comment. I was like, please be nice to them. You do not need to talk to them. It was like, I'm safe, I'm not in trouble, I've been breaking laws.
She's getting
just
antsy.
like, just send your love and support, and that was all I said.
Yeah, she's innocent.
So is there any text messages between you and friends that reference anything that would be concerning
Yep.
regarding
That's why she told her best friend to delete everything. And Chris afterwards. And then she deleted all her stuff. But then she says she deleted all this stuff because she was just fed up with Chris. But she told Chris and this friend of hers to delete everything first.
this case?
No.
Like, talking about Chris? I think you've told me that you've never even really talked with
My friends about him. No, and like my friend's dad died last night, like yesterday.
I'm not worried about that.
No, I know, but she started like, oh my God, she was really drunk last night. She started like freaking out. She's like, I don't know what's going on in your life. She's like, I don't know if it pertains to this case. And she like just sent me like a screenshot of a news article of that case, and she was just like,
distracting away.
she's like,
What about conversations? Remember
I didn't mention that it had anything to do with that. She's like, I don't know.
Just saying, if there was a female investigator in there, this would have went differently. Just saying. Don't put a man in there to try to intimidate this girl. Put another woman in there. These women detectives, they don't play no games. They play hardball. I've seen it on First 48. Put another woman in there, guaranteed this would have been a lot different.
No, that's what it is. He works at Anadarko. She's like, I really don't give a shit. She's like, I just really need you to be here with me and my dad and this and this and this. And she was just kind of upset because I had asked her
She's fidgety.
to please say
If
no
you're
comment
innocent,
to
you
media,
just
and it happened
gotta
to be
sit
like
there.
right when her dad died, and I think she was feeling a little like, yeah. But I mean, you guys can read this. There's nothing in there of me actually saying anything about it. I just told
What's your phone number on that phone?
720. It's the same phone number that's on this one. 756-9605. So no, I mean,
Yeah,
you
the
guys
number's
can-
changed.
Jeez.
Now, what you saw there was Nichol being unsure, worried, apprehensive about the police going through her phone and seeing everything.
Significantly.
The officer asked her if there was anything that she was concerned about on the phone, and she says, not really. And the officer responds, not really? Or yes or no. Nichol engages in a bit of a discourse then, and she starts to talk about a friend, and you can see her trying to divert the conversation, but she eventually hands her phone willingly over to the police. Now, some have made a big deal over this, and to me it's rather trivial. I don't think her concern or her apprehension that we clearly see is anything more than what mine might be if someone was about to take my phone and go through every little detail.
But if you have nothing to hide, I mean, the only thing that I would have to hide on my phone is my YouTube stats. I mean, other than that, take my phone. If there was a murder mystery and you wanted to clear your name, take my phone. I don't need my phone right now. Find out what's going on. That's where my discrepancy comes from.
Detail in it, every text, every website, every Google search I've made. I know I don't have anything significant to hide, but that would be uncomfortable for me, and I'm not in the center of a murder investigation. Any normal person is surely going to think, is there anything in my phone that might be misconstrued, might be taken out of context, misinterpreted, or even misused? Nichol's hesitancy in this moment actually makes sense to me. When Nichol was asked why she deleted text messages from Chris, she said it was because she was disgusted in him now, and she just wanted him gone and everything done with. And that seems plausible. It's not a sensible thing to do when you're about to be dragged into a murder investigation.
Right before.
But this girl certainly wasn't one to think things through. That's pretty clear. But was she hiding stuff? Well, we all know she outright lied to police a few times. For example, she told them she had not told anyone about her relationship with Chris, but then she mentions she was texting her girlfriend about him.
And her dad.
She denied ever saying anything about not wanting children around, but we know she did in fact say that. She said they weren't intimate when they were. She said
she said into a investigation with a friend that she's had so much of the sex with him that she's needing to take a break because it's so much. But yet she's not intimate.
Chris was much more into her than she was into him. But a week before the murders, Nichol spent hours Googling for wedding dresses and searching on Google for how to marry your mistress. She told police that Chris was already losing it long before he met her. But then she said to a friend that Chris was just simply too good to be true. She said she didn't know that Shanann was pregnant until after the murders.
Lies.
And this one is almost impossible to...
This was on her Facebook that Nichol was investigating. And it was the day that Chris found out that he was pregnant. He told Nichol
to believe, given all she had to do was look at Shanann's Facebook page.
She did.
And who doesn't check out the Facebook page of the wife of the man you're sleeping with? That doesn't make sense. So that one's really hard for me to accept. Some of those lies may seem relatively trivial on their own. They may seem relatively innocuous. They certainly don't amount to the knowledge or involvement of a murder. But if someone is lying about lots of little things, it often means they're trying to hide something bigger. So I do believe Nichol was trying to hide stuff. But what was she hiding? Who was she protecting?
Her involvement.
And my answer to this is pretty simple.
Herself.
She was protecting herself, her own reputation, her credibility, hiding her shame and her embarrassment and stupidity and immaturity.
And she didn't want to go to prison.
I think specifically some of the things Nichol was hiding in not wanting to hand over her phone immediately was potentially some provocative text messages, sexually oriented content. And we now know she was.
They said that the stuff that we haven't seen, which they'll never put out, is so graphic. It can't be put online. That says a lot, okay? There's some graphic crap out there. And for them not to put it online, just saying.
Was indeed Googling some of these things. Now, I'm not going to say exactly what those searches were, but you can find out if you want to. Suffice to say, they were on the sexual side of things. So she probably felt really ashamed and embarrassed by some of these messages, especially given that they were communications that now we know were directed towards a murderer. So those things were most likely embarrassing, but not incriminating. So my conclusion here is that there's probably not a lot to read into her response there in not wanting to hand over her phone.
I disagree a little bit on that one.
The next section, however, of this video, much more revealing. Here the officer is inquiring whether or not she might have ever mentioned her dislike of children to Chris. And she repeats the words never, never when she's asked this a couple of times in another part of the interview. But she's quite adamant and defensive when asked at a later point. But I'm going to show you a part here where I find her response interesting, to say the least.
So let's just, while we're here, because we talked about this before, but we didn't talk about the specific context of what that message said regarding to children. So obviously in the situation that we're looking at now with...
this is just disrespectful. If somebody's talking to you, get off your phone.
The death of 2 children and all the other circumstantial stuff going around in the case, I just want to make sure there was no comments ever made by you regarding, children or dislike of children or love of children.
She doesn't like other people's children.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I guess. Let me find it.
This is so shady as we look at this. To block her face.
Initially, you drew concern from me when you told me you deleted everything from Chris. I've already told you that. You understand why. There's no question as to why that might cause concern. So if there's anything else that ever comes up, I have it, and then we can just discuss it. Do you understand what I mean? All right.
It's right here. This is where it starts.
In this part of the video, Nicole's mannerisms, her behaviour, her expressions, and her voice all change. She is intentionally avoiding answering some of those questions related to her not wanting children. When the officer asks her, "Do you know what I mean?" she sort of goes, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Like in this quiet tone. Her response is withdrawn, it's concealed, and it's rather different from that anxious, high-pitched, excitable voice that we heard only earlier. She continues to talk a lot about a friend who was concerned for her and some text messages that her and the friend sent back and forth to each other. But in doing this, Nichol is intentionally diverting the conversation away from the line of questioning and back to the friend. And I can actually sense a bit of frustration from the officer. I mean, this officer's fantastic and does his job exceptionally well, but I do see moments where he's a little bit frustrated with this and he intercepts and asks the questions more directly.
So as a personal investigator, assert your dominance. You're in control. Don't let Nichol take over. It's like all the interviews that she's had, she's taken over the interviews. It should be the investigator that takes over the interviews. Are you effing kidding me? Yes, I almost said it, but we're going to keep it censored on this channel.
Questions that Nichol is clearly trying to avoid. I see a real discomfort here, and possibly some of the deleted messages were going to be contrary to what she was telling the officer. Well, actually, we know that's true now because she did in fact tell her friend, the one in question in this video, that she didn't want a man with kids and she wanted these first with someone else. She even talks to the officer about this.
You're referencing that he has 2 kids and then you don't like that because you want to have that experience with somebody else? Is that
exactly?
I just said I wasn't sure if he was the one that I wanted to be with because he had already done everything.
Okay.
I was like, it would be really nice to kind of have kids and have my own.
She wanted to have all the own first things.
That was never anything I conveyed to him.
Yes, you did.
this. So she was obviously avoiding here. But let's be fair, just because she wanted to have kids with someone for the first time, or just because she wasn't thrilled that Chris had already experienced all these firsts with Shanann, doesn't mean Nichol wanted them all dead. That's a massively long and simply erroneous bow to draw. So her admission here and her avoidant and diverting behaviour and discomfort makes sense to me. Having worked with many women in similar positions, I can assure you, often the mistress will present an ultimatum to the married man. It's her or it's me. And I do speculate that this is a very real possibility in what happened in this case. Nichol may have presented an ultimatum to Chris. It's Shanann or it's me. And this makes sense because this is what most people do in this situation. But it also makes sense because
They
the
wanted to
fact
get
was
rid of
she
her.
was planning on committing to Chris. She was searching for rentals for Chris so he could move out. She was searching for wedding dresses. She was Googling about being with a married man. But we also know that Nichol at times was concerned whether Chris was actually going to leave Shanann. And we know from the police video that she told Chris to try and fix things with your wife before attempting to...
Which no mistress says. No mistress can be like, oh, I want you to go take care and I want you to go fix things with your wife. No! What? That doesn't make sense in itself.
pursue me.
That was when I had said, hey, when you go to North Carolina, I really think you should try to fix things with your wife. And he kept asking, well, what about us? And I was trying to kind of take a step back and see if he would fix things before attempting to pursue things with me, because I wanted to know that if all of these things he's saying, like we're getting separated, and yes, you know, all of these things that he's saying are happening, I wanted to know that it was like, you were doing this, like you said you were, prior to me coming in your life, and it had nothing to do with me, you know?
They said in another, or like when they dived into her computer stuff, that she was like, it wasn't just like one or two times. Like she was like obsessed with looking at Shanann stuff, looking at Chris's stuff. Like she was looking at it daily, like 10 to 20 times a day. Okay? That's not somebody that just, oh, go fix things with your wife.
And so for me, it was like, I really wanted them to fix it. I would have just left the situation.
Yeah, she's lying.
She wanted Shanann out of the picture, but does that mean she wanted her dead? I don't believe so. Now, one of the interesting texts that came from Chris to Nichol said, being in your life is something I crave. He also said, the first time we hung out at the park together, I knew I was addicted. Now,
Crave an addiction? You can't just throw it away. You're addicted. I'm addicted to Funko Pops. Am I going to stop? Probably not. Is he addicted to Nichol Kessinger? Yeah. Was he going to stop? Probably not.
crave and addicted are interesting words for someone to use so early in a relationship. Admittedly, he was in that early passionate stage of a developing relationship
honeymoon
where
phase,
everything feels
kind of.
wonderful and new and exciting. But even so, knowing that Chris is a narcissistic sociopath, these words
They
to
both
me are
were.
particularly interesting. My best theory is that Chris was indeed obsessed with Nichol, and Nichol, obviously not knowing at the time that he was a sociopath, had mentioned, probably innocently and casually, that she regrets or that she was disappointed that he already had a family, that she would never get to experience those firsts with him. We know that she did in fact text that kind of sentiment to her friend,
And her dad.
that Chris had already been there and done that. So to think that she didn't also in some way communicate that to Chris just makes no sense to me. So what if Nichol did tell Chris that she was disappointed by this? The man who by his own admission was addicted to her and craving her. This could have been the turning point, the moment that Chris chose a pathway to murder.
It wasn't
You
just him,
see,
though.
narcissism and addiction both result in an individual risking everything to feed their craving, to feed their need, to feed their self. Narcissists and addicts will both lie, they'll steal, they'll
narcissists.
manipulate, they'll do anything to get what they're desiring.
And Nichol was also narcissistic and an addiction to Chris. So she's willing to lie, steal, manipulate him. I'm just throwing it out there. They both were doing it.
And
Just
when
saying.
someone is also a sociopath, they may even kill to fulfill their selfish desire or addiction. Now, before I directly answer those 4 questions I opened with, I want to quickly address some of the things I've seen posted on the internet and some things I've seen posted in the comment sections of my other videos that some people suggest point to Nichole's involvement in the murders. Number 1. She FaceTimed Chris, or Chris FaceTimed her the night of the murders, and he was sitting on the marital bed and she noticed that there were no sheets. Now, this is in fact true, and it was Nichol who brought this to the attention of the police because she thought it was odd that there were no sheets on the bed. Now, I'm not sure how people think this implicates Nichol, other than she was FaceTiming him the same night of the murders. But none of that discussion would prove to be
So she can remember sheets on a bed, but she can't remember the 111-minute phone call that they had?
meaningful or implicate her in any way. They chatted a lot that night, and Chris was so detached and unaffected by having just killed his wife and wrapping her in the sheet that all he saw in that moment was a chance, an opportunity for some uninterrupted FaceTime with his mistress, who he thought he would now be free to be with. So this one's on Chris, and I don't think we can use that to suggest Nichol knew of anything. Number 2 is that Nichole's Google searches later revealed that she was searching for terms like how long do phone companies keep text messages and can cops trace text messages?
Why would you do that?
Etc.
If you're not in it, or if you're
I think I explained
not
this
hiding
one
something.
already. She was embarrassed and she was ashamed and she wanted to be as uninvolved as she possibly could now, and trying to hide her spicy and inappropriate communication with Chris in the aftermath of what he did was a pretty stupid thing to do. But I don't think trying to hide it and Googling these terms equates with guilt or involvement in any way. Number 3, this one caught my eye. It was that Nichol allegedly Googled Chris Watts in September 2017, over a year before she even met him. But through my research, I've learned that the record supervisor of the Frederick Police Department had stated that this was simply a typo.
And then there was also retracted that it wasn't a typo.
Of course, all of Nichole's Google searches were later...
How do you typo Chris Watts? How do you typo that? Or Nichol Kessinger? I mean, not Nichol Kessinger, but how do you typo? She typoed, apparently, Chris Watts and Shanann Watts. How do you typo that wrong?
Recorded, and you can see that this search, among many other searches about Chris Watts, occurred after the murders. Given that the 7 and the 8 are right next to each other on the keyboard and typos do happen, I think this explains, and the context of it explains what happened and doesn't implicate Nichol, and simply a rumor that
I'm looking at my keyboard, that don't make sense.
Has spread on the internet.
But I'm being respectful. I'm seeing her point of view.
Number 4, one of those Google searches that Nichol apparently did subsequent to the murders was a Google search on Amber Fray. She was Googling Amber Fray's net worth, whether people hate Amber Fray, Amber Fray's
She wanted to
book
make money
deal.
off of it.
Now, Amber Fray was a star witness in the highly publicised trial nearly 20 years ago that sent Scott Peterson to prison for killing his pregnant wife Lacey and their unborn son. Now, odd perhaps that she was Googling this, but it does make sense. I can say that these 2 women, Amber Fray and Nichol Kessinger, are very different. Most notably that Amber definitely did not know that Scott...
And Amber came forward and apologized where Nichol did nothing.
Was married, And Nichol definitely did know that Chris was married with children.
I agree with that.
When we go through crazy and traumatic events, we as humans look for comfort in people who have experienced similar situations. It's a pretty common thing we do. It can be reassuring and comforting, as few others could really understand the magnitude of what we might be experiencing. Capitalizing on the situation might not have been the most appropriate thought, but it was just a thought. There have been no book deals. There's not even been any interviews with Nichol. And
she went into
Nichol,
hiding.
from her first actions where she was trying to hide her involvement and protect her reputation, and what I've interpreted as shame and embarrassment and wanting a private life, seem to have continued because she is nowhere to be found now. She disappeared. Some are saying that she's in witness protection because she knew more than what
Which
we
was
were
not
told.
confirmed by the
And
police.
she cut some deal with the cops, and that's why they were able to move forward with such a quick trial and a conviction. And that's certainly a possibility, but to me, it's more likely, and in fact, I'm pretty confident that she just wanted to disappear, create a new name, and I believe there's evidence that she has changed her name legally, create a new identity for herself, pretend like none of this ever happened, which in my mind is probably a sensible thing to do. Number 5 was that Nichol's cell phone pinged in the Frederick area the morning of the murders.
Try explain that,
some
please.
people are saying that she was there. She must have been involved. But apparently it was ruled out that she was at Chris Watts's residence and that she was in the area but was frequenting a local gym. This
Lie.
seems to be a thing that has gained momentum as a rumor on the internet, but I don't know for sure. I can only comment on what my research has shown, and the veracity of the information I'm privy to is relatively limited, but I don't think
The gym that she said she went to, and also an investigation that I looked at, she says was only 5 minutes from her house, where she was actually 35 minutes away from Chris's house. So why would her phone ping in his direction? When I looked at it, she has 3 towers around her, and there was 4 towers around Chris. Put that in perspective.
there's any evidence Nichol was at Chris's residence, or I'm sure the police would have investigated that further. Number 6 is one I've seen around, that Jamie Watts, who is Chris Watts's sister, was in rehab with Nichol prior to Nichol meeting
I have
Chris.
not heard that
Now,
one.
I can't find any reliable evidence of this at all, so I simply don't think it's true, and that this also is just another rumor.
I didn't even hear
If
about
you know
that.
more than I do, or if you have more than just a belief or a suspicion, you have some evidence or some reliable information that they were in rehab together, by all means send it to me. I would love to know more. But from what I can conclude, there isn't really any evidence for this. And even if perchance they were in rehab together, Nichol and Jamie,
For what though?
that doesn't mean they knew each other. That doesn't mean they even spoke. So I don't put much weight on this one.
I've never
either.
heard about this one.
Number 7, there's speculation that Nichol and Chris are still in contact, sending letters to each other.
That's a miss.
Now, this
here and there.
information largely came about from one of Chris's cellmates who was later released, and he told some outlets that Chris and Nichol were still in touch. Now, if that's true, the rumours of witness protection fall apart, which I don't believe is accurate anyway.
Yeah.
But are we to trust the words of a convicted criminal? I probably wouldn't. There have been many women writing to Chris Watts in prison.
Which we saw
and
yesterday.
One of them is a clinical psychologist, of all people, by the name of Krista Rochello. She ended up having a relationship with the cellmate of Chris Watts. Now, as a female clinical psychologist who's spent years working in the prison, it's women like that that bring our entire profession and female representation in that industry into disrepute. It's one thing to have a fascination with crime and criminals, as I do, but a very different thing to start up a relationship with a
You guys have been also wanting me to look into her. If you guys want me to look into her, let me know in the comments.
criminal. So would I trust her or the cellmate? Probably not. Chris, according to these unreliable
He'll come up to a lie
informants,
detector.
received letters from a female, and he believed that the letters contained secret information, a code of sorts that was really Nichol, privately revealing her identity in the confidentiality of this secret letter. I think we can move on from this one. I very much doubt Nichol would go to so much trouble to legally change her name, to be anonymous, and then only to reinvest in the drama of it all. Krista also believes that Watts is innocent, so let's really not give her any more time or attention. And number 8, the last one here before I answer those 4 opening questions, is the rumour that Chris, after killing his family, looked up the lyrics to a Metallica song called Battery, which has some spooky words in it really, including a line that says, "cannot kill the family." Now that bizarre little bit of information is actually true, and it was shared by police and is available alongside dozens of other disturbing details found amongst
Nichol also told him to look it up. He knew Metallica songs, but she actually texted him that, listen to this.
approximately 2,000 pages worth of documents detailing the case.
I'm looking into those
However,
2,000
I
pages.
can't see how Nichol has anything to do with that. Chris was a Metallica fan. He'd been to concerts. He had pictures of Metallica on his phone. So that song had meaning to him. But as far as that implicating Nichol, I don't see the connection. Okay, so like I said, I could spend hours dissecting this one.
And
But
we're gonna
let's
continue
revisit
it.
those first 4 questions and let me answer those directly for you now. So question number 1, is Nichol lying?
Yes.
Yes, she lied about a lot of things. Number 2, was Nichol directly involved in the murders? There
Yes.
is no evidence I could find that suggests she was directly
can't say no.
involved. The only thing I'm left unsure
what we're
about is
trying to
the
figure out.
theory about her being in witness protection, which could explain why she disappeared so abruptly, why Chris was convicted so quickly and avoided a trial. But my overall guess is no, that didn't happen. She's not in witness protection and she was not directly involved in the murders in any way. She's simply gone off the grid, started a new life somewhere else. So number 3, did Nichol manipulate Chris into killing his family?
Yes.
Well, I believe that she did, but I think it was unintentional. I also think
it was
this is
intentional.
the guilt, the embarrassment, and the shame that she felt in the interviews, which
She
appears
wanted Chris
as
all to
though
herself.
she's hiding something. Once she realised what this man was capable of, she probably also realised the unintended role she played in it. She probably did put pressure on him to leave his wife, and the house hunting for him and the wedding dress searches and the comments about wishing he didn't already have a family, etc., played a role. She had the power in this relationship without even knowing it. He was addicted, obsessed, narcissistic, and sociopathic. And I believe when Chris Watts left for that final week in North Carolina, Nichol probably gave him an ultimatum, and that ultimatum probably became deadly. Number 4, is Nichol, or more accurately, I should say,
Capital
was
Y-E-S.
Nichol at the time of the murders mentally unstable? And the answer is no. I
What?
see no signs of mental illness. What I do see is arrogance, immaturity. I see ego and I see pride. I see poor insight and very bad judgment. I also see some risk-taking behaviours and a woman without much responsibility
Not mental instability, but with the girl that goes,
and maturity, but I can't find
see all
any
these, but also
personality
the
traits
other
that would
ones.
suggest she's narcissistic or borderline in her personality.
I don't agree
and
with this
there's
one.
no psychosis and no delusions. She was dishonest, a bit self-centered, and she had this sexual energy. In spiritual terms, it's a Jezebel energy, which she probably used to allure and captivate Chris. But there's no psychopathology that I can observe. The way that she speaks, the way she slurs and sits and talks, her high-pitched tones, her deep voice, those fluctuations, and the
Gross
words
throw-up
she
giggle.
uses. Side note, try counting all the likes that both her and Chris say.
A
like
lot.
this, like that. you'll be counting for a long time. There's lots of them. And the reason I say that is because that's how teenagers talk. So there is this immaturity that we see between them both. Nichole's giggles, her body language, all of this speak to that immaturity, but not to her criminality. So no, there is no mental illness there. That's apparent to me. But my conclusion is that Nichol was not involved directly in the murders. And once again, the only person that I'm able to attribute any guilt to is Chris Watts himself.
But we need to get Chris Watts to be investigated or talked about. I mean, he's not going anywhere. Hook him up to a lie detector test. Ask him about questions about Nichole's. That's all we need to do. Ask him about Nichol. See what he says. Just saying.
In video 4 of this series, I'm going to look at another element of this case.
Oh, gosh.
That makes no sense. And that is Cindy Watts, Chris's mother. She's sure got a lot of people talking and speculating and accusing her of many things. And there's a lot to unpack there.
You guys also want me to look at that. Oh, geez.
See if I can make any sense of Cindy's odd and overprotective and...
If you guys want me to look into that video of the YouTube channel Brain and Beyond, definitely let me know. I definitely agreed with a good amount of what she said. There's a couple discrepancies I have as well. What do you guys think with your discrepancies? Do you believe her more?
No. When you order something that might be a gift.
That's creepy. But do you believe more on her side, my side, both? Let me know. We're going to continue this. You guys have literally wanted me to continue because if you look at the numbers, like literally, I posted this morning, if you guys want me to stop or continue, 92% of you guys out of like 600 votes want me to continue. So we're going to continue. So with that being said, comment down below, like the video for the justice of these girls and baby Nico. Hopefully one day we'll see that justice, but we can't do it unless we investigate. Look at all the video, look at all the evidence, look at everything that we can possibly look at, but we can't do that if we don't look at it. So again, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Keep it real, keep it safe, and as always, keep nerding on, and we will see you guys next time.